Yes! Hello, my beautiful friends. What an amazing day it is. And I am so grateful you are joining us today on our early stream here, making sure that we attend to the business on the day because there is some good business to attend to. Your boy has an event today and tomorrow. And so thanks for joining us early as we go through this. We've got a preview of what we're going to be talking about. Then we'll zoom in on it and look at a couple of court filings today. Of course, the big news out yesterday when we were live, Kamala was doing an interview with Bret Baier over at Fox News, and it was a disaster. And it's not just me saying that. We have a bunch of clips queued up, but what you'll notice is in the election betting odds polls, there is some serious movement. And what you'll see here is right at about October 16th at 3 p.m. You see that zoomed in on your screen right there. My cursor is right there, 3 p.m. Presuming this is my time, that's 6 p.m. East Coast time, which is when the interview came out. Trump was coming down, 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 down. You can see it's like almost like, wow, Kamala's going on Fox News. This is crazy. This is so cool. She's so brave and heroic and amazing, and we love her so much. Interview gets released 3 p.m. Womp. Kamala goes down, 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 down. Trump goes up, 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 up. So everybody saw it. Everybody realizes it. It's not just on Kalshi, which is a new edition. It's also on Polymarket. Okay, here's what Polymarket looks like. Same pattern happening here as we go into October 17th. This is what the polls look like. So we'll come back on that. We'll look at a bunch of reaction, but it was a good night for President Trump because Kamala is terrible. Trump was reacting to this. I've got clips from Trump's campaign, other clips, some fact checking on this. So a lot of fallout that is coming up, and we're excited to get into it all. But before we do, we have some other court filings that we need to attend to, including this one from Fani Willis. And Fani, over in Fannyland, Fulton County, Georgia, she is trying to appeal the dismissal of Trump's charges. So remember, there were 6 charges that Judge McAfee dismissed because he said that Fani Willis doesn't know how to draft an indictment because Trump doesn't have notice based on how she drafted the charges against him. He doesn't know how to defend himself because they're so vague and denying of his fair notice. So she is appealing that, saying, bring those charges back. I did a great job in my drafting of the document. And so we'll go through it briefly. It's a lot of technical stuff in the filing because she's saying that the indictment is actually sufficient. But we'll go through it, see what she said. But there's some other drama out there, man. Steve Sadow, Trump's lawyer in Fulton, he said that he has some ideas on why Fani Willis and Nathan Wade have got the same lawyer now. The same guy, which is this guy, Roy E. Barnes over there from Georgia. And you remember what this guy looks like because he testified over at the actual hearing. Remember, he came in and he's like, no, Fanny's great. Fanny's smart. He seemed like a real kind of folksy Georgia guy. Turns out now he's representing Fani Willis. So the same guy who testified on behalf of Fani Willis is now representing her. Isn't that convenient? Now, also, apparently, he's representing Nathan Wade. Nathan Wade came out with his statement. Shout out to our friend Phil Holloway, who's over on YouTube and X. Got Nathan Wade's opening statement, so we'll see what's inside of that. And then we'll see what Fanny's up to with her appeal. And we also have an interesting filing. The RNC is suing, this story's wild too, suing Detroit for deleting election ballot Dropbox surveillance footage, okay? So they're saying, no, Dropboxes are totally safe and secure and everything. Well, what happened is the RNC, or some entity, I forget who actually wanted the original footage, but they submitted a FOIA request. They said, hey, you've got these Dropboxes set up, and you know, we're in the middle of the election now, but we had primary seasons and all these things. So they set up the Dropboxes, they put cameras on them. Somebody said, hey, we want the surveillance footage from the cameras. Send a letter. They get a letter back saying, it's going to take us a little bit of time to get that footage for you. We need 10 more days. Okay, great. Get us the footage, fine. Then They fast forward and they say they've already deleted the footage because there was a delay in requesting the footage because they wipe the footage every 30 days. So they cause a delay, delete the footage, and then respond to say, we don't have the footage. Why? Why are they deleting the footage? Well, we'll see. There's a lawsuit from the RNC over against the city of Detroit. And so we'll read through it and try to understand why they're deleting the Dropbox footage. If this stuff is so safe and secure and we should trust our elected officials, why is this stuff disappearing? Very interesting. Hopefully we'll get some answers on that. But it is a beautiful morning, my friends. Very grateful that you're joining us. I know there's a lot going on this morning. I think Trump was over on the Patrick Bet David podcast. Where is that? PBD is premiering right now. Trump is over there. It's awesome. All right, so shout out to those guys. PBD podcast, Patrick Bet David over there. Good stuff. So that's also happening today. We're also waiting for today Jack Smith's appendix. So that should be dropping today. Of course, we'll be back here tomorrow morning at this time to cover whatever we don't catch today. But before we get into all this good stuff, my friends, you know what we got to talk about? Chuck Norris, baby. You ever wonder what happened to him? Well, I saw a video that he made. I'm shocked. This guy's in his 80s. He's still kicking butt. He's working out. He's staying active. And what's even more shocking is he can work out longer and even has plenty of energy left over for his grandkids. And how did he do this? By making one easy change. He says he still feels like he's in his 50s. And his wife started doing this too. Chuck Norris's wife. She's never felt better either. Her body looks leaner and she has energy all day. Chuck made a special video that explains everything. And so make sure you watch it. Go to chuckdefense.com/RG. It's going to change the way you think about your health. Once again, chuckdefense.com/RG. Click the link in the description. You're not going to believe how simple it is. Chuck Norris, legendary, 84 years old, more energy than me. And you can get that too. Just think about these 3 things that sabotage our body as we age. Watch Chuck's method. Click the link, chuckdefense.com/RG. Look at Chuck Defense right there. Pa! So go check it out. Click the link in the description below. And thank you, Chuck Norris, for sponsoring our show today. We appreciate you. And thanks for being so cool. All right, so now let's get into it because we've got some fun business today. And we're excited to jump in. All right. Fani Willis is now trying to appeal Trump's dismissal of his charges. Remember that Judge McAfee got rid of 6 counts from Fani's terribly drafted indictment because the judge said Trump doesn't even know what they say. Yes, he got charged with crimes, but what are the crimes? It's so poorly drafted that Trump doesn't have proper notice to defend himself. And so those charges went bye-bye. Now Fani is appealing this in the state of Georgia because she wants those charges back. Now we'll go through it. It's a technical filing and we'll see what her arguments are and we'll see what the Court of Appeals does. None of this is going to happen before the election, and after the election, after Trump wins, arguably, we'll see if it happens then. But we'll come back on this because there's other Fani Willis drama. Trump's lawyer came out and he said the following. He's noticing something that's happening there in Georgia. What could it be? Corruption? We'll see. He says, here, just a brief musing, now that the media is reporting that Fani and Wade are sharing the same personal attorney, which is interesting because they're not married. They're kind of trying to create some sort of a privilege there, like marital privilege or spousal privilege or attorney-client privilege because we have the same lawyer. And every time we talk, we're talking about the case or whatever. They can claim all of their communications are confidential and privileged. Now, all protected by their lawyer. Here is what Steve Sadow says. How very convenient. And it is convenient, isn't it? And do you know who their lawyer is? Guess who? Roy Barnes. This guy that we saw testified in Georgia on behalf of Fani Willis came out there and said everything was basically above board. This guy, Roy Barnes, out of Georgia. And how do we know he's representing Fani and presumably Nathan Wade? Well, because he wrote a letter to Jim Jordan. And he sent it as you can see, he says, hey, dear Jim Jordan, remember Jordan sent Fani Willis a letter and said, I want all this information about your disgusting corruption and your noxious odors. And she scolded him back and said, I'm not giving you anything. You're Congress. What do you think? You have power or something? You're useless. She's kind of right in many ways. But now Barnes Law Group sent this one, not Robert Barnes. He's great. Now, this one is from to Honorable Chairman Jordan. It says, all right, listen, Jordan, I've reviewed your letter that was addressed to Nathan Wade. And though my client and I were discussed in the letter, I was not sent a copy. And so I thus obtained the same through public sources. Now, I find the tone of your letter there, Jim, to be filled with vitriol and anger. And I would suggest you take some deep breaths and calm down so this matter may be discussed without emotion. An anger management course might help. Jim Jordan, are you going to sit there and take this, man? You're in Congress. You run the Judiciary Committee. Now, in what capacity? I represent the Honorable Fani Willis. I represent Miss Willis in a personal capacity, as well as her capacity as Big Fanny. Now, I insist on the procedures outlined in my earlier correspondence upon the examination of Mr. Wade. Now, I'm just a country lawyer, he says. Yeah, right. Unaware of the ways of Washington. It's a nice shtick, right? It's a nice shtick. Oh, I'm just a nice guy from Georgia. But I must comment on your statements regarding our obedience to subpoenas. I noticed you were served with a subpoena based on the illegitimate, this guy, is he really a lawyer? On January 6th insurrection. It was illegitimate, okay? There, Barnes. Remember, H.R. 503 was utilized to authorize the creation of the House committee. Guess what? They didn't follow their own rules in H.R. 503, not even close. So it's illegitimate. So why would Jim Jordan respond to Liz Cheney's subpoena? It's idiotic, obviously. It's not even good law. Now, I therefore find your protestations regarding a normal citizen obeying subpoenas hollow. He's quoting the Bible and Jesus. Oh, gosh. It reminds me of Matthew 7:3. Why do you see the speck that is in your brother's eye, but do not notice the log that is in your own eye? The South have a similar saying. This is like a skunk telling a possum his breath stinks. This guy, Roy Barnes. When you have calmed down and attended the anger management class, Jim, I will be glad to discuss this matter with you in logical, dispassionate manner. Dude, you're mocking him, okay? This is hypocritical. You're telling him that he needs anger management while you're mocking him and acting very unprofessionally, I'll say. Now, I wish you and the other members of Congress the very best in undertaking the work of the people. By the way, since we in Georgia just experienced a great tragedy, a school shooting by a young man with a machine gun, do you think you could take a short breath and solve that problem? Roy Barnes, counsel for Fani Willis in all capacities. He's a perfect lawyer for Fani because they're both unprofessional, just Democratic hacks, essentially, is what I can tell from this letter. So that is the lawyer who testified on behalf of Fani Willis. In my opinion, he was testifying on behalf of her. He would say he's a neutral witness, but he was very favorable to her. And now we can see why. She hired him. All right, they're BFFs. And now he's scolding Jim Jordan, lecturing him about anger management classes while simultaneously alleging that he wants to work positively towards an amicable outcome. All right, dude's a joke. All right, so that's what's happening. Now, he's representing both. Apparently, according to Steve Sadow, Nathan Wade and Fani Willis. And Nathan Wade showed up and gave his opening statement with the Judiciary Committee. And our friend Phil Holloway grabbed this one. He's also on YouTube and on X. And he does great coverage. He says that Nathan Wade said the following or something like the following when he was there in front of Jim Jordan, who was just getting backhanded time and time again by the people in Georgia. They should be defunded, obviously, immediately. Now, good morning. He says, my name is Nathan Wade. Here we go. I'm a licensed attorney in good standing in the state of Georgia, which is a miracle because of the corruption. I am here after voluntarily accepting service of a subpoena from the House of Representatives. I am here of my own volition, having paid for my own flight tickets and hotel room with Georgia taxpayer dollars that he should have never gotten because he was hired corruptly in a conflict of interest with his lover. But anyways, he paid for it on his own. So that's good news. To respond to any legal relevant inquiries, please note all arrangements were made per agreement for my voluntarily testimony But this committee changed the date for its convenience. So he's like, I had to come out of pocket to reschedule my flight, which is annoying. Now, you're aware, I served as special assistant DA with Big Fani. Prior to accepting that, I served as a prosecutor several times during my career in these various positions. I began my private practice in 2000. I served as a criminal defense attorney. I represented hundreds of individuals in state and federal courts with felony and misdemeanor charges, tried many felony cases, representing clients in serious matters, including but not limited to these crimes: capital offenses, murder, rape, armed robbery, aggravated assault, aka the Doug Emhoff, and drug trafficking, aka the Hunter Biden. Many of the cases garnered media attention. I have served as a civil attorney in private practicing representatives, individuals, and he's given no attention to partisan politics. I have previously been retained to represent a Republican sheriff. I served as legal counsel to the NAACP. Now, in 2010, I began serving as a municipal court judge, was proud to become the first African-American to do so in Marietta, Georgia. I was invited to assist in the training of newly appointed municipal court judges, and I got dozens of accolades. Now, my team investigated the issues in the election interference case for more than 2 years. This case was not politically motivated. Yeah, okay. Now, rather, it was an independent investigation based upon facts and interviews. I had no mandate other than to honestly seek the truth, ! On your multiple cruises on taxpayer dollars that you hid from everybody and then lied about on your disclosure forms and then lied about in letters when the court was inquiring and then called Ashley Merchant a liar and tried to smear her and have her sanctioned while you guys were covering up your affair. Wasn't honest at all. And by the way, if he honestly sought the truth, then he wouldn't have brought the charges because there were no crimes here. And that would have resulted in this case being closed and his billables going to zero. So he had a financial motivation and a personal motivation to keep this case going. So honesty has been shattered by the conflicts that are riddled throughout. Then they lied to Judge McAfee to his face about it, which is a crime. I was never directed, ordered, asked, or coerced or pressured to bring any charges, obviously. Nobody needed to do that. That's why you were there. I took my oath as a prosecutor with solemn pride, blah, blah, blah. I did not violate the oath and did nothing to compromise the integrity of the election, of the prosecution. Yeah, you did. I just detailed how. Not one at the White House or White House counsel's office, Jack Smith, or the DOJ or the J6 committee ever directed me to do anything against anyone! ! Due to the lack of cooperation from witnesses and other government officials, Fani requested permission to impanel a grand jury. They returned an exhaustive report. Following the recommendation, we launched an indictment. Several defendants moved to disqualify me and Fani. The trial court held a hearing. In March of this year, the motion to disqualify was denied. In its distasteful dicta, okay, he's talking about McAfee here, who said that Fani has a noxious odor. He's like, she smells great, okay. The court opined that either I resign or Fani's office resign from the prosecution. Consequently, I voluntarily resigned. Since that date, I have had minimum contact with the office of Fani and have had no access to documents left there. Minimum, okay, so he's not talking to the office, but he's still hanging out with Fani. He showed up with Fani when her daughter got arrested for driving on a suspended license because of her criminal record. On May 9th, I received a letter from Jim to produce 6 categories of documents. I voluntarily complied with that request by producing the documents that I possessed, which of course were none. I had nothing responsive, there you go, to notes, memoranda, or communications because I left the office. I have nothing for you. I can't give you anything. The committee's purpose in requesting those documents and in seeking my appearance is talking about the money and federal funds, which they won't do crap about, so we'll just leave that there. The committee has also considered legislation broadening the existing statutory right of federal removal. And he says, well, okay, I'm here to cooperate with you, but contrary to any fabricated story that I somehow evaded service, I voluntarily reached out to Marshall's office to then meet them and get served. And we don't appreciate the inflammatory media reports about me fleeing to Belize again. You are aware, and I am bound by the Georgia Rules of Professional Conduct responsibility and must at all times maintain in confidence all information gained in the attorney-client relationship. I've been served with the following letter. and he's going to read the letter into the record. Now, our friend Phil Holloway said, I'll add this, okay? These guys are labeled as special assistant attorney generals. They're not considered prosecutors, okay? They're like private lawyers who handle cases like in juvenile court and other things. So kind of mirrors the federal statutes where the DOJ can go and get assistant attorneys to help with, tribal cases and stuff like that. So anyways, so that's Nathan Wade. Very Nathan Wade letter. And he paid for everything on his own with Georgia taxpayer dollars. But at least he paid for everything on his own. All right. Now, here you'll see Fani is also appealing the Trump charges, saying that they were perfectly specific, okay? That the indictment wasn't screwed up. In March, if you recall, we covered this, McAfee dismissed 6 charges, quashed them, said that Trump and others didn't have proper notice. One count against Mr. Trump was saying that he unlawfully solicited Raffensperger, the Secretary of State, to violate his oath. Now, the core of her case against Trump is January 6th, and it's going up on appeal. Other defendants are included. Back in March, Judge McAfee said prosecutors were not specific enough about which violations the defendants were pressuring public officials to commit. They do not give the defense enough information to intelligently prepare for trial. Office of Fani disputed that, and here's what they sent in. So it's a big one. Let's just hit some of the highlights. They write, all right, Judge McAfee, you really screwed up here. When you got rid of these 6 counts, all right, my indictment, says Fani, more than sufficiently placed Trump and the defendants on notice of the conduct and allowed them to prepare an intelligent defense. The indictment included an abundance of context and factual allegations about these solicitations and to whom the requests were made. And so, McAfee, you made a mistake when you required the state to plead in the indictment enough details as to the target crime of the violation. What were they trying to do? That's not even required. They say solicitation is complete before the target crime even commences, right? You can, for example, solicit prostitution without actually doing the Willis Wade. You know what I'm saying? So as a result, the target offense in an allegation of solicitation does not need to be as detailed as though it's actually a completed crime. The only Georgia case concerning the issue does not provide a clear analog. And so we provided enough details. There's plenty of particularity in there. And facts and context from all of the other counts of the indictment provide context for them as well. So even if we don't provide the details, in the particular paragraph of the charge, right, these 6 charges, elsewhere, and it was a huge indictment. Remember, there were acts, tons of acts, and overt act, 137. So they say, we've done enough. And if it's not in there, in the specific paragraph, they can look elsewhere in the indictment. So the question is, of course, did the trial court, Judge McAfee, err by granting a dismissal of those charges? And Fani's going to say, yeah, he screwed up bigly. Let's see where she goes with this. Says the indictment is sufficient to withstand special demurrer, which would be the quashing the dismissal of the charges. The indictment set out 6 counts of solicitation of violation of oath by a public officer. Here's what they wrote. On the 3rd day of December, these guys unlawfully solicited certain public members, including unindicted co-conspirators and others, in willful intentional violation of the terms, to engage in conduct. Okay, so they solicited them to engage in conduct to unlawfully appoint presidential electors. Same thing, charged Trump here. Count 6 charged Giuliani there. Count 23 charged this person here. And Meadows got charged there. Now, while this is timely, the test is whether it's constitutionally sufficient. And there were clearly alleged underlying facts here. There's an abundance of facts. And as observed by McAfee, there was only one oath that could be violated, so we know exactly what they're talking about. So they didn't need to go into the specificities of the oaths because they only have one. When read as a whole, the indictment provides extremely clear picture of what we're charging. Count 1 detailed the solicitations. We were talking about the Arizona House of Representatives. There was another oath that they had to take there that they're asking them to violate. And so in striking the solicitation counts and deleting them, the trial court made an improper comparison between inchoate crimes and compound crimes, which led it to seek excessive detail in the indictment. So we didn't need to put all that stuff in there. Solicitation has been described as the most inchoate of the anticipatory offenses because solicitation occurs so early in the criminal planning phase. Its prohibitions furthers the purpose of the criminal law. And so the crime of solicitation is complete the moment the accused, with the requisite criminal intent, engages in the act. So it's not completed, right? The crime is not completed. The actual crime, the complete, like, again, it's the prostitution example. You solicit a prostitute, then the cop busts you. That's solicitation of prostitution. Don't actually have to engage in the act. The solicitation may be complete well before the specific targets are done. And so, by contrast, unlike solicitation, a compound offense necessarily depends entirely on the completion, and that's not what we're asking for here. So they are saying that we were indicting him, saying that the crime had been completed. That's not the intention of our indictment. Our intention was just to say it was solicitation, and so it was sufficient. Now, the only Georgia case concerning the level of detail necessary for solicitation is this case, and the judge is misinterpreting that case. Sanders should be distinguished here. There's an Alabama case that should be distinguished, the Seventh Circuit, they're talking about that one. Finally, the Northern District of Georgia upheld the sufficiency of an indictment for solicitation, and the indictment there, which was upheld, was kind of like ours, so ours is good too. None of the above indictment alleged how the target offense was to be performed, but was upheld as sufficient. And so you should say ours is sufficient as well. So Fani Willis takes this up in conclusion, says, bring back these charges. 2, 5, 6, 28, 36, 38. This is brought by Alex Bernick. Looks like a new player is entering the game on this. One of the appellate attorneys there, trying to bring the charges back from Big Fani. And so, of course, we'll be here. We'll see what McAfee does, regardless of what happens with those charges, which I don't think are coming back. And I don't think Fani's going to stay on the case. I think this case is ultimately going to go bye-bye because Fani lied to the judges' faces. We'll see. But regardless, it's not happening before the election. So all of this, even this appeal, will now take months to process and develop. And we'll be here continuing to cover it. All right, now let's turn our attention to another election litigation matter. And this is another fun one because it's exactly what you'd expect. Deleted Dropbox surveillance footage. RNC is not happy about it. They filed a lawsuit against Detroit. And this one's wild because they asked for the footage. Then the government delayed giving them the footage. And then they said, oh, guess what? We waited too long to get you the footage. We've already overwritten it because we overwrite our data 30 days after the recording. Sorry, we don't have it. Well, not good enough. The RNC is suing now. And RNC Chairman Michael Whatley said, deleting Dropbox surveillance footage while there is a pending FOIA request, we're literally requesting it, is an assault on transparency. This breach of trust is exactly what reduces our confidence in this election. And so we are going to hold Detroit accountable. This secrecy has no place in fair and secure elections, and Michiganders deserve better. So they asked for the footage. We know that the government knows that they asked for the footage, and they deleted it anyways. Here's the lawsuit. RNC and Jonathan Koch suing the city of Detroit Department of Elections for deleting footage. Now, Michigan has a Freedom of Information Act. RNC, we know who they are. Koch is a citizen of Michigan. Detroit elections are what they sound like. So here's how this went down. So we'll reconstruct this timeline so you can see what a joke this is. On August 20th of this year, Koch submitted a FOIA request to the Department of Elections. So a citizen here says, I'd like to have the details, and I have a law called Michigan Freedom of Information Act that allows me to get it. He submitted the request on behalf of the RNC. Now, the request sought surveillance footage for August 7th and August 8th that was maintained by the Department of Elections in connection with the drop boxes for absentee ballots in this northwest part of Wayne County Community College located here. We want video footage, 2 locations on these, one location, 2 days. And August 7th and August 8th. We're presumably talking about primaries that are happening. They also want all records identifying the date of installation and the construction of that Dropbox on that date on August 8th. Now, Michigan law tells us what a public record is. And guess what? Public records must be disclosed. That's Michigan law. Law further defines public record as any writing or anything that's in possession of a public body. It also includes means of recording. And guess what that means? Surveillance video. Video surveillance records are covered under the rules, and he requested them. Now, the Michigan History Center Act also provides a record is required to be kept by a public officer in memorial of the transaction and cannot be destroyed as provided by law. So if you request the video surveillance footage, it better be there. The city of Detroit follows the general schedules for disposal of evidence. So should they have deleted it? Pursuant to this general rule, video surveillance records documenting surveillance drop boxes for security purposes must be kept for 30 days after the record is created. 30 days, law. Must keep the videos for 30 days, specifically for drop boxes. Now, the video surveillance records sought by Koch on August 20th could not be deleted until September 6, 2024. September 6, 2024. He requested it August 20th. It was recorded earlier than that. So at the very latest, September 6th. Koch also requested all records identifying the date of installation. And pursuant to the deletion schedule, Dropbox collection records, including logs, ballot maintenance, security checklists, and ballot retrieval documentation, all must be held for 2 years. Okay, so the videos, 30 days. Everything else, 2 years. Now, the request was made and it was received on August 21st, 14 days after the video surveillance recording was made. 14 days, we still have time left. They shouldn't be deleting it. The law says, unless otherwise agreed to in writing by the person making the request, a public body, in this case the elections, subject to subsection 10, they shall respond to a request within 5 days after they receive the request by doing one of the following. You send a letter in, they respond, grant it, issuing a written notice denying it, grant the request in part, deny in part, or you can issue an extension. So the elections people can come back and they can say, okay, 10 days and you shall respond to the request within the 10 days. That's the law, MCL 15.232 subsection 2. A public body shall not issue more than one notice of extension for a particular request. So if you need 10 more days, all right, you get them. So he sends it in on August 14th. They get it on August 21st, 14 days after the fact. On August 24th, then, Koch receives a letter from the city of Detroit indicating it was extending the response deadline by 10 additional business days in accordance with MCL, the law, and that Koch would receive a response to his request on or before September 12th. Right? Now we're starting to get past that 30-day deadline because they wanted the recordings from early August. So then on September 16th, Koch received an electronic response on September 16th, over 30 days, to his request from the city of Detroit indicating, guess what? The video is no longer available after 30 days, and the videos have been recorded over. Oh, no. Wait a minute. You extended it and then deleted it because you extended it past the 30 days, even though you had notice that they wanted the video? Specifically, the response indicated that the video surveillance records were recorded over 30 days. Recorded over after 30 days, right? So they like used the same tapes. Despite Koch's request having been received 14 days after the record was created and 16 days before the records could be deleted, they deleted it anyways. Attached to the September 16th response was a denial letter indicating, sorry, your FOIA request was sent to elections, and that request was denied because based on reasons from the Department of Elections, the Department of Elections does not possess any record that corresponds to the description in your request. Deleted and denied. So followed the rules exactly right. The government said, we're going to need 10 more days, then postponed it and deleted it and then denied it. Total scam. Now, here's what they're saying. Okay, they incorporate, Koch made a valid FOIA request demanding the records. They got it on August 21st. He did not receive a response until September 16th, which is 26 days after his request was received. Once a request for disclosure is received, a public body must maintain the record until its final determination about its disclosure. They didn't do that. And FOIA requires that the public body shall protect public records from destruction. They didn't do that. They deleted it. The Department of Elections has violated FOIA. They deleted the video after they got our request. And they deleted it well before the date on which they were legally permitted to destroy the records. Why did the Department of Elections destroy the Dropbox records? Why? The Department of Elections has acted arbitrarily and capriciously. They delayed their response until 26 days after the request was received and until after the records had been deleted. And by deleting the records that we'd already requested more than 2 weeks earlier, they willfully and they intentionally failed to comply with FOIA. They acted in bad faith. And so he deserves money. And he does. They also violated the Freedom of Information Act of Michigan. Koch's request was denied for the reason that they don't have any records. Well, they should. Public records are not exempt from disclosures, and they have violated FOIA by failing to produce anything they prepared about the other thing, right? It's not just about the video surveillance. It's also about the installation records. They should have the date of installation and the construction of this Dropbox. Similarly, they want a writ of mandamus to force them to stop doing this. This is appropriate. We have a clear legal right to these records, including video footage and retention of those records. They need to maintain. The Department of Elections has a clear legal duty to retain these things and give it to us after a FOIA. Plaintiff does not possess any other legal or equitable remedy to get these. So we need order from you. Here, justice requires that the Department of Elections abide by FOIA. We have no other remedies. The election is already underway. There's a real and imminent and irreparable injury that more video surveillance records of Dropboxes will be destroyed. We'll request them. They'll destroy them anyways. So issue a writ of mandamus, forcing them to retain these records and prohibit them from deleting the video surveillance footage. And also issue an order saying that they acted arbitrarily and capriciously. They violated FOIA. Make them pay a $1,000 fine. Make them pay punitive damages of $1,000. Make them pay civil fines because they acted willfully and intentionally and they failed to give us these records. Fine them between $2,500 and $7,500 and find that they refuse to produce the materials. and make them give it to us. Compel the disclosure of all the non-exempt materials and give us our attorney's fees. Signed by Jonathan Louderback, Troy Cummings, Catherine Boothroyd in the House from Detroit, Michigan. WNJ.com legal team. Warner, Norcross, and Judd. Man, they have a three-letter domain. It's pretty awesome. All right, so good stuff over there. And you can see the rest of this looks like it was the rejection letter. So here's what the useless Fulton County folks are doing. And here we go. Jonathan Koch sends a letter, surveillance footage. This is what we want. That was the request. Let's see. Here's the denial. This letter serves as notice. I think this is the extension letter. Yeah. We need 10 additional days. Therefore, we'll respond by September 12th. And then, of course, looks like we're going to get the rejection. Here's the FOIA response from the city of Detroit. Here it comes from Ivers, as a lawyer. Ivers Stein Esquire. He, him, his. Ivers. He, him, his. Good. Please find the response letter to your request there, Jonathan. This response is being set electronically. I was informed that video is no longer available after 30 days and is recorded over. Oh, no. Please let me know if you have any questions, and thanks for your patience with this matter. No. Not thanks. And they also sent it over to the Department of Elections, and they say the same thing. The lawyer is responding, and here's some other orders. All right, so surprise, surprise. The city of Detroit deleting Dropbox footage of ballots being collected. Interesting. Now, we'll, of course, see where the lawsuit goes, but what else are they deleting? What else are they retaining? And where else is this corruption popping up? Glad to see the RNC is digging into this. We'll keep covering it. Thanks for subscribing and joining as we do. All right. And now, my beautiful friends, let's jump into the fallout from Kamala. Kamala's terrible interview is now being reflected in the polls, and you can see this over from Kalshi, also reflected in Polymarket. The numbers keep deviating from each other. Trump's going up, Kamala's coming down, and you can see the story in the numbers right here. So it looks like Kamala, you can almost just game this out in your brain. The day of the debate with Bret Baier, and we've got clips coming up about how terrible it was and reaction and more from JD Vance and President Trump. But here's the story, right? So it's October 16th. Kamala's going to be having this great interview with Fox News. Everybody's jazzed about it. It's 5 a.m. in the morning. People are thrilled. Wow, she's so tough and brave. She's so amazing. She's going to come out there and really deliver. She's going into the lion's den. Trump never does any hard interviews. Media loves him, whatever. Going up and up and up and up and up and up. You can see it right there. Kamala's going up. Trump's coming down. It's going to change the whole election. Everything's going to invert. Then 3 p.m. comes across. Now, I'm in Arizona, so 3 p.m. my time, 6 p.m. Eastern time, which means the interview drops. Uh-oh. And then Kamala goes down, 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 down. She was up at 46 at the climax yesterday. Now she's back down to 43. 3-point swing. Same thing happens in reverse for Trump. Trump's at the low point yesterday. Fox News interview goes out. Boom. Trump is up now to 57. The great collapse continues. And so the market's obviously responding. Polymarket is doing the same. See, the same thing happened yesterday, and we're waking up this morning to some major divergences in the polls. So they got to be unhappy about this. This was supposed to reverse course. The problem is Kamala's terrible. She's not a competent person, and she performed exactly as we expected her to perform, which was terribly. And that's why we're so excited that she's out there talking to everybody, becoming an actual nominee who's talking to people. We want her to talk to more people because she's terrible. It's great for our side. Now, J.D. Vance has a good suggestion for Democrats out there. He says, to my Democrat friends, maybe you should consider swapping Kamala Harris for Joe Biden. JD. All right. So that might be a better idea because Kamala is basically where Joe Biden was. She's in the same spot, and it's not looking good for them. Joe Biden had a much better shot in Pennsylvania and some of these other places, but Kamala may have a hard time. And by the way, Joe Biden has an excuse, okay? He's old, and he's been in Washington for 40, 50 years. His brain is like applesauce. So now we have a situation where Kamala doesn't have that excuse. So what is her problem? Now, election betting odds. This is a fun website that aggregates a bunch of different markets. You can see Betfair, S Markets, Predicted, Polymarket, Kalshi. All of them are on here. And this is something we check regularly on our Membo streams in the morning. But you'll see the numbers here just continue to diverge. This is about as big as we've ever seen it, 57 to 41. Some polls are showing, or some markets are showing Trump up 60. And I do hesitate to say, to even share this stuff because I don't want our side getting complacent. I want everybody to be voting very aggressively. And your boy's got his ballot right over there. We're going to be filling that out this weekend and getting that in. Maybe we'll be doing that together. But we've got a lot happening here. Obviously, the numbers are swinging massively towards President Trump. Even these blue wall states are looking pretty good for Trump. We've got Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Arizona, all looking redder and redder by the day. So good stuff there. And we'll keep our eyes on it, but it's not a time to get complacent. Now, the Trump team, very excited about this. They called it a train wreck news interview. True. Says that her interview with Bret Baier was a train wreck. Kamala was angry, defensive, once again abdicated any responsibility for the problems Americans are facing today. She couldn't give a straight answer to a single question because she has no answers. Kamala's entire campaign is based on lies about President Trump. Kamala can't handle the pressure of an interview with Fox News. She certainly can't handle the pressure of being president of the United States. Caroline Leavitt, Trump campaign press secretary for Trump. Now, Trump was also out here posting about this. He said, great job by Bret Baier in his interview with Lion Kamala Harris. She has a massive and irredeemable case of Trump derangement syndrome. So bad, in fact, that she was barely able to talk about any subject other than the man who had the best economy ever, the strongest border in history, and who just got the unanimous endorsement of the U.S. Border Patrol. Guess who got all those things? Me! Their endorsement was a tremendous honor. They said that Comrade Kamala did a terrible job, the absolute worst in memory, and can't be allowed to do it again. She is also the worst vice president in history, but will soon be gone. Again, congratulations to Bret Baier on a tough but very fair interview, one that clearly shows how totally incompetent Kamala is. For the good of our nation, her inferior cognitive ability must be tested at once, says President Trump. And we saw her cognitive ability tested yesterday. Didn't work out so well. Here is one example of that, where Kamala is saying, well, yeah, I've been in charge, but Trump's been running, and so blame him and stop asking me hard questions.
Frankly, exhausted of Bret.
More than 70% of people tell the country is on the wrong track. They say the country is on the wrong track. If it's on the wrong track, that track follows 3.5 years of you being vice president and President Biden being president. That is what they're saying, 79% of them. Why are they saying that? If you're turning the page, you've been in office for 3.5 years.
And Donald Trump has been running for office.
But you've been the person holding the office.
Come on.
Madam
You
Vice
and I
President.
both know what I'm talking about. You and I both know what I'm talking about.
I actually don't. What are you talking about?
What I'm talking about is that over the last decade,
But
people
you're the
have
lever of
become.
power.
But listen, over the last decade, it is clear to me, and certainly the Republicans who are on stage with me, frankly, exhausted.
A lot of it was like that, just kind of a back and forth. Well, you know what I'm talking about. No, we really don't know what you're talking about. Here was a longer excerpt from the exchange on the border, which is where they started and really spent the bulk of the interview, mostly about the border. And I've got some other clips. Apparently, Bret says she showed up late. Her people were back there like, cut it, please stop this interview. And it was quite short. It was like 26 minutes, I think. And they showed up late and it was kind of a scandal. But here is a longer exchange when they got started.
Premise. Jocelyn Nungary, Rachel Morin, Laken Riley, they are young women who were brutally assaulted and killed by some of the men who were released at the beginning of the administration, well before a negotiated bipartisan bill. Former President Clinton actually referred to Laken Riley Sunday campaigning for you in Georgia, saying if those men had been properly vetted, Laken Riley probably would not have been killed. So if it wouldn't have happened, this is well before any negotiation. This is well before Donald Trump got involved in the politics. This is a specific policy decision by your administration to release these men into the country. So what I'm saying to you, do you owe
Bret,
those families an apology?
Let me just say, first of all, those are tragic cases.
There's
no question about that.
Yeah, shouldn't have happened.
There's no question about that. And I can't imagine the pain that the families of those victims have experienced for a loss that should not have occurred.
That's right.
So that is true. It is also true that if a border security had actually been passed 9 months ago, it would be 9 months that we would have had more border agents at the border, more support for the folks who are working around the clock trying to hold it all together.
Madam Vice President.
To ensure that no future harm would occur. And this election in 20 days will determine whether we have a president of the United States who actually cares more about fixing a problem, even if it is not to their political advantage in an election, because there was a solution, Bret.
Madam Vice President, it was a policy decision in the early part of your administration. I will let one of the mothers talk about it. Take a listen.
Because of the Biden-Harris administration open border policies catch and release, they were enrolled in the Alternatives to Detention program. This meant that they were released into the United States. It was not even a full 3 weeks later that they would take my daughter, Jocelyn Nungary's life. I believe the Biden-Harris administration open border policies are responsible for the death of my daughter.
That's the early days. So do you owe them an apology is what I'm saying.
I will tell you that I am so sorry for her loss. I am so sorry for her loss. Sincerely. But let's talk about what is happening right now with an individual who does not want to participate in solutions. Let's talk about that as well.
But do you want to answer
in all fairness, I told you I feel awful for what she and her family have experienced.
Well, okay. Well, I guess that's... Are you accepting responsibility, or is this like, I'm sorry for your loss, right? That nice thing you say when you go to a funeral. Yeah, I'm sorry for your loss, right? Okay, yeah. I have nothing to do with it. I had no responsibility for that at all. And what's so interesting is they always go back to this border policy bill. When did the illegal immigrants come in who murdered those young women? Did they all come in and murder them in the last 9 months? Like it all happened only because the Republicans didn't pass that bill? Or are the consequences of immigration much broader than that? They are much broader than that. As that mom just declared to us, it is a situation where they're letting them in and releasing them. And we went through the spreadsheet, the charts here, hundreds of thousands of criminals let into the country and let out. Tens of thousands of murderers let out that we've seen. And the numbers are insane, not to mention the 300,000 kids that are all missing and gone. So is she going to apologize for that too? And all the victims that they've created and enabled there, is she going to apologize for that? Pretty brutal exchange. And it's interesting, she did apologize. I'm sure her staff was not happy about that. And you can tell that she's having a hard time. Now, Bret Baier got her a little caught up on this one, talking about Trump being unstable. She's got very amazing skills of observation. She can sense Trump's demented from afar. She's like Spider-Man. She's got spidey senses. She can tell when somebody is off a little bit in their mental acuity. She can just feel it in her bones. So did she notice that with Joe for the last 4 years?
He's unstable. He is unstable, Bret.
He's not well. You say he's mentally not stable?
He's not stable.
Let me ask you this. You told many interviewers that Joe Biden was on his game, that ran around circles on his staff. When did you first notice that President Biden's mental faculties appeared diminished?
Joe Biden, I have watched from the Oval Office to the Situation Room. And he has the judgment and the experience to do exactly what he has done in making very important decisions on behalf of the American people.
There were no concerns raised?
Brett, Joe Biden is not on the ballot.
I understand.
And Donald Trump
but
is.
You talked about it.
And Donald Trump
After George Clooney said within a few minutes of talking to President Biden at a fundraiser that he thought this was not the same Joe Biden that we saw on the debate stage.
Donald Trump is on the ballot.
I understand. You met with him at least once a week for 3.5 years. You didn't have any concerns?
I think the American people have a concern about Donald Trump, which is why the people who know him best, including leaders of our national security community, have all spoken out. Even people who worked for him in the Oval Office, worked with him in the Situation Room, and have said he is unfit and dangerous and should never be president of the United States again, including his former vice president, which is why the job was open for him to choose another running mate. So that is a fact. That is a fact.
All right, so she's just got reversed on that. She obviously is like a clinical psychologist. She can tell how Trump's mental acuity is, but she was not able to observe Joe Biden and his demented brain for 4 years and was in the same room with him, vouching for him, saying the guy's doing cartwheels all over everybody while she was slamming back, her vodkas or whatever she does. But this was a pretty brutal interview. She struggled with it, and there were some fact checks here. The GOP came out with this one. She had this line, "I would never, ever call the American people stupid." Too bad you already have.
So are they misguided, the 50%? Are they stupid? What is it?
I would never say that about the American people.
What else do we know about this population, 18 through 24? They are stupid.
You hear that, young people? You hear that, young college people? That's what Kamala thinks of you. Now, Bret Baier was also saying that they delayed the interview. They were trying to ice the kicker, trying to throw him off, and brought it out right before the interview started because they were trying to squeeze everything in before the 6 o'clock hour. Here's Bret.
Dana, I'll give you a little behind the scenes here. I know you love this, and it fits in with Dana reads sports. When the kicker in football, they call a timeout right before he's going to kick the field goal. They're icing the kicker. So we were supposed to start at 5 p.m. This was the time they gave us. Originally, we were going to do 25 or 30 minutes. They came in and said, well, maybe 20. So it was already getting whittled down. And then the vice president showed up about 5:15. We were pushing the envelope to be able to turn it around for the top of the 6 o'clock. So that's how it started. And I could tell when we started talking that she was going to be tough to redirect without me trying to interrupt. I did this with President Obama. At one point, I just said, Mr. President, I know you like the filibuster. I just didn't even have the chance to sometimes redirect in those ways. I had a lot of other questions.
Yeah. So what a missed opportunity for them, right? So I don't know what she had before. Well, I know she had that one event right before, but what's more important than this interview today on your campaign schedule?
They don't want to talk to you.
If your goal as a candidate at this point is to win the day, win the news cycle of the day, then your interview with Fox is arguably your most important issue. And I think you could tell at the end that you were having to rush through it so that you could get to the top of the show, and you were trying to be respectful of their time. But it would have been really interesting for her to be able to say to her team, no, let's keep going, Bret.
Yeah, we could go for another hour if you want to, right? No problem at all. Happy to talk to you. But they really couldn't do that. In fact, they actually had to hurry it up. And here was that exchange from Bret when they were like cutting him off in the background here.
I hope you got to say what you wanted to say about Donald Trump. There are a lot of things
There's more to say. I have much more
there
to
are
say,
a lot of
actually.
things that people want to learn about you and your policies, and that's why we
I
invited
invite
you
everyone
here.
to go to kamalaharris.com, and you will see that I have 80 pages of policies that are quite comprehensive and should be accessible to anyone who would like to read them. And it includes what I intend to do about affordable housing, what I intend to do about small businesses, what I do
And that's why
intend
we
to do to
invited you
strengthen
here,
our economy,
to see where you were in 2019 and where you are now.
support America's military and ensure we have the most lethal and best fighting force in the world.
Madam Vice President,
And
they're giving me a hard rap
Well,
here.
I thank you for the time.
I thank you for the time.
It's good to meet you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, giving me a hard rap here, and then Bret Baier came out and explained that this is how they shoot him out of there.
Dana, you've been on the other side. You've been on the rapper as a press secretary interviewing a president, and I'm talking like 4 people waving their hands, like it's got to stop. So Martha, I had to dismount there at the end. There's so many things, and she maybe should do more of these.
Madam Vice President,
And
they're giving me a hard rap
Well,
here.
I thank you for the time.
Yeah, they don't want her to do any more of those because this is what happens when she does. Oh, and it just keeps going. Isn't that fun? It just keeps going and going and going. Oh, no. You think she's going to do Rogan now? No, obviously not. That would be terrible for them. So here, meanwhile, while all this is happening, President Trump was out there actually talking to people about things that matter. Great answer. So 2 things, growth and cutting. We're going to grow the heck out of this place, and we're going to cut the heck out of the bad stuff. It's going to be great. So we've got a new golden age that we are on the precipice of entering. The election is right around the corner. Get those ballots filled out, baby. And let's take this thing past the finish line. All right, my friends, it's a beautiful day. Let's see what you have to say about this. Oh, yeah, I wanted to, this one is unrelated to anything that we talked about, but it's a fun video clip here. And I wanted to share this before we jump into your comments and your questions as we wrap up here on our early stream. This came from Elle. Big fan of Elle. She's a ton of fun. And she's over on X. She does great digs, great reporting. And she was sharing this clip of Elizabeth Warren. And I just wanted to share this because I enjoyed this clip. This guy had something to say to Elizabeth.
To go after them on overdraft fees, where folks like JP Morgan Chase were making more than $1 billion a year off people who were struggling making it day to day. I'm in those fights, but I think crypto ought to have to follow the same rules as everybody else.
Briefly, I wish Senator Warren would attack inflation the way she attacks crypto. I wish she would attack securing the border the way she's focused on crypto. You know, she's so focused on crypto. She had the CEO of JP Morgan Chase available for questioning, and they had financed the largest child sex trafficking operation in history with Jeffrey Epstein. And you know, Senator Warren didn't ask a single question. She wanted to talk about crypto because she's so hyper-focused. Now, I know that because I was raped as a child for a period of 2 years, I might be a little more sensitive to those child rape victims. But I want to ask Senator Warren, why would you not ask one question? JP Morgan Chase settled for $290 million to these rape victims. They had to settle with the U.S. Virgin Islands. And Senator Warren doesn't ask a question. You want to know why? Because a former Democrat president's involved, because her donors are involved, because people that she knows are involved. Again, loyalty to an agenda, loyalty to a party. I come in and I want transparency on everything. I'd like her to answer the question on behalf of all those rape victims, though.
So, look.
Oh, wow. All right. Yeah, I don't know how she answered that one, but doesn't really matter. That was pretty damn epic. All right, so shout out to that guy. Just wanted to share that with you because I thought it was an enjoyable clip. All right, now, let's see what you say about all this, my friends. It's a beautiful morning, and once again, thanks for joining us early. Your boy is heading out to an event all day today and tomorrow, and I'm excited about it. Very excited about it. So that's where we'll be. But of course, we are going to be back here tomorrow morning, same time, and we're going to get into the day's activities tomorrow morning early. All right, so guess who's here, my friends? More here is here. More here is here. He says, I've been waiting all my month for this time. What's up, More here? I've been waiting all month for this. Good to see you, more here. 1 month as a member. Thanks for being here, more here. Hey, John Wilbur. What's up, John Wilbur? Thanks for becoming a supporter. Good to see you. Hey, Hope Neff is here. And you guys can grab that. We did a members-only stream yesterday morning with some other stuff that we are covering. So grab that stream. What's going on? Elena, a.k.a. Neely, is in the house. What's up, Neely? Good to see you. Maynard gifted a membo from Elena, a.k.a. Neely, in the house. Hey, More Here is in the house. More Here, good to see you. 10 membos are coming in, courtesy of More Here. We got Shane Souza, The Sentinel, Connor Grifton, Mrs. Smoot is here, Digga. We got Kanaloa Jones, Michael Cheney, Raul R., Freeman Jack, MS Iradio, and Marion Gran, gifted membos, courtesy of More Here. Thank you, More Here, for bringing in the membos. We got Felicia Kimbler, 3 months as a membo. Thank you, Felicia, for that. Very much appreciate that one. 3 months as a membo. We've got Dash Hound Lover. Thank you for this, Dash Hound Lover. Very nice dono. No question. It is a Samurai Shibu sending out #1, which I appreciate that. That's a really nice one. Thank you for that one. Hey, Neely says Fulton County equals corruption all over the place. I don't even know how anything functions there at all. Only a fine? Detroit, says Neely. Yeah, that's the one. Here's one from Neely. Says, do you bet? Not really. I'm not a real big bettor. I mean, I do. I have. I used to bet on football like in college, just to kind of make it interesting because I really don't find it all that interesting. But yeah, not really. But maybe we'll bet on something. I don't know. It kind of sounds fun. Hey, Rocky says, hey, Rob, a bit early to get grumpy, but coffee helps. Regarding the Dropbox lawsuit, love it, but ain't nothing going to change till we fix the broken judicial system, in my humble opinion. Corruption is one thing, but allowing or permitting the corruption is quite another. Anyhow, happy. What is today? Thursday? Yeah, it is Thursday. It is early. Yeah, it is a little early. And even my reading mechanics in my brain were having a hard time this morning. Like, all right, get the mouth, functional. A little early to read. All right, what's up, Rocky? Good to see you. Thank you for that. Yeah, we got to fix our justice system, baby. We do. What's her name? What's up, what's her name? Says her dad's name is Donald J. Harris. That's why she's got daddy issues. She hates her father. Yeah. Hey, MAGA Hat says Langford clarifies what really happened with the border bill. So he calls out a rewrite of history on the border bill negotiation. That's interesting. Yeah, I wonder what he's saying over there. Here's one from Voice says, don't get complacent. Grab everyone you can, register them, and go vote. Make sure any shenanigans are too obvious to ignore. Yeah, and just vote, vote, vote. Vote, vote, vote. We got to get them in. Lady Ice says, Rob, you have to play just a little. This is great. Steven Crowder's production, it's 2 minutes, which we'll send you over there to watch it over at Steven's house. But thank you, Lady Ice, for the plug. We've got this one from Bill Robb. Bill Robb? What's up, Bill Robb? Bringing in 20 new membos. Thank you for this, Bill Robb. Good to see you. Bringing in Too Legit to Quit. Justice Berserkers here. Elizabeth Shrug. Ditch Wicked. What's up? And hey, join Off-Label Podcast later tonight, because we're not going to be having a show tonight. So that's a great suggestion, K-Bean. Hey, Lyndon gifted a membo. LK, what's up? June Love. We got Joshua Smith. Scada's here. We got 2001's Dirty Secret, My Awakening. Gifted membos, courtesy of Bill Robb. And here's some more coming in, thanks to Bill Robb. We got Mr. Cranky Pants, Johnny Boy, Nicholas McCoy. We've got Mama Pillow, what's up? Adam's here. Dragon Book, Rick O'Shea, Red, Doctor Who, Eric, Tam Tam. Gifted membos, courtesy of Bill Robb. Thank you, Bill Robb, for bringing in 20 membos. You're amazing. Thanks for doing that. Appreciate that. And Silver Umbrella says, Robert, hope you have a great day. 8 months as a membo, Silver Umbrella. Thanks for that, Silver. I hope you have a great day, too. It is going to be a beautiful, beautiful day. No doubt about it. And we're excited about that. Let's see what's cooking over on locals, and then we'll wrap it up, my friends, because we are heading on over to Genius Network is where I'll be. That's the event that I'll be at today. Elliot, what's up? Yeah, Elliot dropped this one. Says, Trump lawyers seek to stay the release of material in D.C. until December 14th. And that is supposed to drop today. So we'll see what happens with that. We've got this one from Elliot, also sharing a bunch of docs. Says, regarding the official conduct and presumptive immunity, an issue that I have not seen raised but may be relevant is the production of presidential records to the J6 committee. It seems to me that it would be obvious to argue that whatever comes up in materials the J6 committee received from the archives is presumptively immune. There was litigation over Congress's PRA request. Correspondence from the White House office has also been published. The White House counsel instructed the acting archivist in June of 2022 to redact certain materials. It appears from the litigation that Trump claimed executive privilege of drafts, but those claims were not upheld. In other words, we have the White House waiving executive privilege and clueless Jack sallying forth 3 years later with this dud of a do-over that proclaims the content and the context demonstrate that it consisted of non-official conduct. Would you be interested in doing a segment or video on this issue? If so, I can send you more material. This looks like some very good details on that from our doc master, Elliot. Yeah, it looks like some good details there, Elliot. So thanks for sharing all that stuff. Let me see if it comes up and how we can integrate it. But thanks for doing the research on there. We've got Inusfad is saying got some actual internet problems. So it might be locals problems or it might be some internet problems. I'm not sure. Is anyone else having problems here? Hardened Patriot says, look back on this Univision interview. I wish they were able to teach Trump some basic Spanish. He hits then with the answering the question in Spanish and then in English. Yeah, that would be hilarious. Trump comes out, starts riffing in Espanol. Carrie B says, this has got to be the best answer as to why Californians should not reelect Pencilneck. Shared a clip over from Steve Garvey, who's running against Pencilneck. And it would be amazing if Pencilneck lost, but we're not so sure that's going to happen because it's California after all. Hey, what's up? Dan says that needed to get leaf blower to clean out the debris in the brain, Rob. It's true. Yeah, it's true. Sometimes in the morning it takes a little while to get those pistons firing, in our various domains. And so, okay, my friends, let us leave it there. And hey, what's up? Carla Rogers sent this one. What's up, Carla? Says this one. Says, Rob, your presentation of the Judge McAfee ruling in DeKalb versus Raffensperger is the world's best presentation on how the election is vulnerable to theft in 2024. Thank you for your brilliance in so many areas, especially that one. One request, please help Robert Barnes to understand what's happening since he is in a position to do something about it if he can become unmistaken on this issue. Wow, that's an interesting one. If I had to guess, I would guess that Robert Barnes is probably familiar with the issue. But thanks for the nice compliment, Carla. Yeah, I appreciate that. I'm hopeful that more and more people are we're going hard on the election litigation stuff right now. Like election litigation has been a big focus lately because it's everywhere. In fact, I saw an article from Bloomberg from Zoe Tillman that said that there were 165 election litigation cases happening right now. And I think that is what is dispositive of the election, honestly, right? That's how they stole 2020, is they changed the rules, they changed the infrastructure. They had a whole censorship apparatus that they stood up after Trump won in 2016. And so it's happening in the court of law. It's happening in the justice system right now. Amazing. Okay, so my friends, we are going to leave it there. We are going to wrap it up and head on out to my event. We'll be back here tomorrow to get into it again. Locals, hang tight. We'll do a very short after party, say our goodbyes. But otherwise, my friends, let's say hello to some friends on X very briefly, and then we're going to call it a day. We had a couple folks on X. Let's give some shout outs over here. Ann, what's up, Ann? Here's one from Ann. Says, Trainwreck Kamala is trending. Trainwreck Kamala is trending. Yeah, it's a pretty bad one. Hey, Donut, thanks for clipping for us. Carrie B, thank you for clipping for us. We got K Bean clipping for us. Amazing. You guys are awesome. Thanks for modding the fort down for us. Shout out to Elliot, our doc master. Thank you to Cuckoo's Cams for being a member for 24 months. Says, hope everyone has a positive and peaceful day. Thank you, Cuckoo's Cams, for saying that. What a nice thing to say. It's going to be a beautiful day, and thanks for being a member for 24 months. All right, so my friends, we're going to leave it there. It's a beautiful Thursday. We know what that means. Tomorrow is Friday, and Stan Cottrell says, I agree with Rocky Water, but how can we fix our judicial system when it's nearly impossible to remove corrupt partisan judges from the bench? It's true. It's very hard to get rid of them. Very hard, which is why we have so many problems in so many places. But my friends, we're coming back tomorrow to get into this again, and it's going to be at the same time, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific, and in order to do that, we're going to need to see you right back here so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful day, my friends, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.